Good morning. It's nice to be, well, as if you're watching this in the morning, but it's nice to be sitting out in the garden again, just looking out and about with all the butterflies and the birds flying around. So, hope you're well. And we're going to continue in our Bible study in Acts. Today I'm going to be looking at Acts 10, and I will start in this session and it'll probably split into two. We'll see how we get on with this. So this is the story of Cornelius' house. It's more than just a moment of God impact. It's actually a time which is going to bring a fundamental change to the outlook of the church and the understanding of the church. I think you've got to remember up to this point, the church, the culture of the day, and everything was split with Jew and Gentile. And there was just that feeling that God had visited the Jews and it was an upgrade for the Jews. And there was a shift here coming where the doorway would open for the Gentiles. In other words, the gospel was for every man, no matter what their background. God loved people, and there wasn't this separation, Jew and Gentile, male and female, slave and free, all the things that were part of the culture of the time. So this is, I think, is God addressing one of those things. We're going to pick up in Acts 10, and let's see what we can learn and gain from this. So it starts with this guy Cornelius, and Cornelius is a guy he's a leader of about 100 men. He's a captain of a regiment, but I think the most important thing I want to pick up here is how he's described, and I think that this description is a key thing in what happens after that. He's described as a devout man. He's described, and this is the Passion Translation, a man of extraordinary character who worshipped God and prayed regularly, not just on his own, but together with his whole family. So those are the keys of this guy: devout man, extraordinary character, worshipped God and prayed regularly. And great characteristics for us to grow and develop in. But also on top of this, he had a heart for the poor, and it says that he regularly gave generously to help them. So there you are. Even in those few lines, we've got a sense of who Cornelius is. Yeah, he's a captain of a regiment. He's obviously well known, and he's known as a devout man, extraordinary character, worshipped God, prayed regularly. His family were together with him. That he had a heart for the poor, and he gave generously. So Cornelius is doing those things. He's going about his business. He's doing those things before God, and then one afternoon, it says at 3:00 in the afternoon, he had an open vision. And it says an angel of God appeared right in front of him, calling out his name, Cornelius. So this is Cornelius's moment. And part of what I want to grab in this little bit is that sometimes things that have happened with an individual have connotations and impacts that go well beyond the individual. There's much of our lives, the impact of what we do is ourselves and those immediately around us. And we need to see that our actions, good and bad, impact those around us. But sometimes the impact of someone's decisions has a greater overall effect, not just in their own local world, if you like, but as with Cornelius, this is going to have an effect that ripples on and affects the church forever. So it's 3 PM, and he has an open vision. And he says he saw an angel of God appear right in front of him, calling his name. I think that must have been an incredible moment, that in a moment of confirming his identity, a moment of grabbing his attention, a moment of realization that heaven knows his name. And so it says he was startled. It says he was overcome with fear at the sight of the angel. I love that these moments where angels turn up and they're startling, they're capturing, they take hold of someone, and in that moment they're overwhelmed. And he says this: "What do you want, Lord?" He recognized that this moment was no ordinary moment, but a special moment, a staggering moment. It says the angel said to him, "All of your prayers and your generosity to the poor have ascended before God as an eternal offering." In other words, It's ongoingly remembered. So what was he remembered for? Prayers and generosity. It was like whenever he prayed, it ascended before God. His generosity ascended before God. That's interesting, isn't it? That his generosity, our generosity, has an impact in heaven. Sometimes we can think that things we do on earth don't necessarily have a massive heavenly impact. But when you're generous to someone, when you tithe, when you're offering, when you give, when you help someone, when you help someone out, God sees those things. It's almost like he sees those as much as he sees our prayers. He sees our attitude towards other people as important. And for Cornelius, in that moment, he's told that, I've lost the place here, but he's told that your prayers, your generosity, they've come up before God. That this is something eternal. So I want to encourage us out of that our generosity is important. Giving is important, and it has an impact not just on earth, but in heaven. So what's Cornelius told to do? He's told to send some of his men to Joppa, and he's told that there he'll find Simon Peter, or Simon the Rock, as it says in this version, where he's staying as a guest at the house of Simon the Tanner by the sea. I love the detail here. Again, he's told who to look for. He's told where the guy's staying. And he's told it's not his house. He's in a guest's house. And he's told, that the place is by the sea. Some specific instructions that will help him find where he's going. And hopefully the noise of the tractors around here aren't picking up again today. And it says at that moment, the angel left him. So Cornelius, he's got an instruction, but he still has an opportunity to obey or disobey the instruction. We can initially say, well, of course, we would obey the instruction, but there's enough examples in the Bible where people get instructions and they don't follow them out. You could look through the Old Testament, you'll see it many, many times where instructions are given, but they're not followed through. So Cornelius, even though he's had this amazing encounter with God, still has an opportunity to step out in obedience or disobedience. And I think we just need to consider that a little bit in our lives. It's not just about God speaking, but when he does speak, when he does nudge, when he does capture our hearts on something, the question becomes how or what are we going to do as a result of that prompting of God? Are we going to follow it as best we're able, or are we going to, as such, put the prophetic word, put the word of life on the shelf? And again, it's so easy in life just to go past things that we need to pick up, take up, go for. So Cornelius, his response was to get two of his servants and one of his trusted soldiers, someone who was his personal attaché. And it's interesting. Cornelius isn't told to go himself. He's told, this is the detail here, he's told to send some men, and that's what he does. And he then explains to them everything that's happened and everything that's happened in that vision to him. And he sends them off to Joppa to find Peter. I was just looking here. I think this is going to be a good time just to split this teaching, even though it's slightly shorter, because we come on to the next bit, which is Peter encountering God. And there are two parts to the whole thing here. And to understand that and to engage that God, when he moves, often he's moving in different places, in different ways to bring a divine encounter, a divine moment. And I'm sure many times in our lives we don't actually realize, we see one part of the story, we don't realize that God has orchestrated things so things are in the right time, right place. So next time I'm going to pick up on Peter. I'm actually just going to stop the recording today and then I'll record the next one and put it straight up. So that'll be available on Thursday. Bless you. Have a great week. See you soon.